Guys, let me ask, what do you even say when you hear something like, a grandmother, a white grandmother that is, decides to tattoo three baby apes on her arm to represent her three mixed race grandkids?
Do you know how racist you have to be to go out and intentionally get a tattoo of three baby apes to represent your three mixed grandchildren? This creator came on here telling her story on how her mother in law, her white mother in law, went out and got a tattoo of three baby apes to represent her kids. The creator's name is Tish. She goes by Tish Monster on TikTok. And she and her husband are both mixed, which just means the mother in law laid down with the black man and had a mixed baby of her own. So you had your own mixed kid and you just stayed ignorant? Tish also said that the mother in law called her babies monkeys previously. Before getting that tattoo done, she had already called these babies monkeys. That should have been the last time she saw those kids. Monkeys? Every time I open up this app, I just come across the craziest stories.
Tish Monster, since you can't say what you would want to say, let us handle it, right? Because your mother-in-law, the grandmother of your children, of your three children, your black children, biracial, whatever you want to call them, they're black, right? Grandma is racist as fuck. Your husband don't give a fuck about your feelings, right? Because if you had a legitimate issue with what she put on her fucking arm to represent your kids, and he brushes it off like it's nothing, he does not care about you. To invalidate your wife's concerns shows that he has zero fucks, or he gives zero fucks about you. And it shows that he'll cater to his mother's fuckery than to care about his wife's feelings. Now, I'll say this, and this is why I say that she's racist as fuck, because you mentioned that you have told her on numerous occasions that when you are around, your kids are around, she's to cover that shit up. And each time, on multiple occasions, she never covered it up. They even took it a step further and gaslit you to the point where they're making it sound like you're the issue for having a genuine concern of why they did what they did, or why she did what she did. I'll take it a step further and be real with you. Your mother-in-law slick hates you. She slick hates her grandchildren, because to have that out, people are going to question that. Like, yo, what does that represent? And she's going to say, those are my grandbabies. And they're going to kiki, they're going to kiki and ha-ha, right? About your doggone kids. I hope and pray to God that you divorce that man and you never have anything to do with that fucking side of the family. Because if they'll put that on their arm to represent your kid, if you were to go take those kids to their house and leave them there by themselves, there's no telling what they would do to those kids. Be done, be over with, and just know that they don't fucking like you. They don't like you. They slick hate you. And don't say I'm fucking overreacting either. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Peace.
Yeah. But y'all, the worst part about this story is they're not even just like half black, half white mixed race babies, right? The mom is black. The dad is biracial to himself. So this lady now had a baby with a black man and still proceeded to get a tattoo of apes to represent her black grandchildren. Like, please be so fucking for real. To have so much ignorance and pretend like, oh, you just didn't know that it was that serious. You just had no idea. You had no clue. Bullshit. And you would never see my babies again. I don't care. And the mom is divorcing the dad because he has not supported her in this at all. Like, that's the reason why she came on here to tell her story time, because they was making her feel crazy. Like, she was just being dramatic, overreacting, this, then the third. So she left him. Because how are you, as a biracial woman myself, this is why don't nobody like us now. Because how are are you, as a black man, half black biracial man, how are you supporting this? I don't care if that's your mother. I don't care if that's your family. I don't care. How are you not speaking up for your wife? How are you not defending your children? As a half black man, how are you okay with just letting this slide and not correcting and reprimanding your mother at all? I don't care if she's your mom. Like I said, you would never see my kids again. There's no way, because you're trying to be funny, and at this point I can't trust you around my children at all. Nope.
Guys, let that sink in for a moment. Not flowers, not stars, not heart, but apes. And then when you confront it, she refuses to cover it up. Now, I know some people out there might say, or rather, you might try to spin it around and say, oh, it's just art. She didn't mean what she did. But context matters. This same grandmother had already referred to those kids as monkeys. This wasn't random. It wasn't innocent. This was deliberate. This was racism etched permanently onto her own skin, into the memory of her family. The impact, immediate and devastating. Tish, the mother of these kids, a black woman that is, was left shattered. Imagine what it feels to, watch someone tattoo an insult of your children on their skin and then dismiss it when you protest. Imagine pleading with your husband, the father of your kids, who is biracial himself, to stand with you, and instead he brushes it off. He tells you you're being dramatic. He acts like your anger is, the problem, instead of the blunted racism staring in front of him. That is the breaking point, guys. Tish made the decision to, divorce him, and honestly, who can blame her? Marriage is supposed to be, a partnership, especially when it comes to, protecting your own kids. But when your partner won't even defend your, kids from his own mother, his own mother's racism, what kind of trust can remain? This isn't about one tattoo. It's about betrayal, neglect, and cultural ignorance wrapped in a family unit. It's about a mother-in-law who should be a protector, not a source of hate. And it's about a father who chooses silence over defense, comfort over courage. And that silence is dangerous, because when racism inside a family goes unchecked, it spreads. It gets normalized. And who pays the price? The children. They grow up seeing, themselves dehumanized. They grow up without trust. They grow up knowing that people who should have protected them looked the other way. So in this video, guys, I want us to unpack the layers here. Not just the tattoo, but the consequences, the estrangement, the lifelong scars, and the unspoken expectation that a biracial father who knows better has a responsibility to defend his wife and, children against racism, even if it comes from his own mother. Because this situation isn't just about, a tattoo. It's about what happens when a racism enters a family, and how silence from the people closest to us can hurt even more than the insult itself. Now, let's pause for a second and look at the bigger picture, right? This isn't the first time we've heard of racism tearing families apart. What makes this story so raw is the, closeness of the betrayal. Racism isn't just something happening out there in society. It's not just about strangers on the streets. It's right in front of, our living rooms, in the family gatherings, in the voices of people who are supposed to love us. The grandmother here didn't just disrespect her grandkids. She dehumanized her own grandchildren, and, and by tattooing it permanently, she sent a loud and clear message. This is who I am, and I don't care who it hurts. Now, some people might say, well, maybe she didn't mean it racially. Maybe she really just thought monkeys were cute. But let's be real. When you already have a history of calling mixed race children monkeys, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. Words and actions don't exist in a vacuum. They come with baggage. They come with history. And in this case, the history is ugly. And then there's the husband, a biracial man, someone who himself has likely faced racism in his life, someone who should, know better. And yet when the moment came to stand up for his wife and his kids, he chose not to. He chose to protect his mother's feelings instead of protecting his own kids, his own children's dignity. this is where it cuts even deeper. Because silence from a stranger is, one thing, but silence from someone who should understand you, silence from your partner, your protector, your co-parent, that is betrayal on another level, guys. And that betrayal has consequences. Tish, the mother, said it herself. She can't trust him anymore. She doesn't feel safe leaving her children in his care, because if he won't stand up against his mother, what else will he, let slide? What else will he excuse away? This is the kind of gaslighting that breaks people. Imagine voicing your pain, only to be told you're overreacting. Imagine standing up for your kids, only to be, told you're dramatic. That's not just invalidation. That's emotional manipulation. That's making, someone feel crazy for reacting to something that's obviously wrong. And for the kids, the consequences are even bigger. They've now lost a connection to an entire side of the other family. Their grandmother will never see them again. And frankly, that's probably for the best. But let's be clear, the loss is not their fault. It's the direct result of her actions and their father's silence. What this case shows us is that cultural insensitivity, when ignored or excused, becomes poison in a family. It destroys trust, it destroys marriage, it destroys the very fabric of connection between parents, children, and, extended relatives. And here's the thing, racism doesn't just hurt in public spaces. It doesn't just wound when it comes from strangers. Sometimes the most lasting scars come from, inside the family, the very place where love and safety should be, guaranteed. Now, let's step back and think about what we've learned from this story and why it matters far beyond one family's crisis. Now, first, this case shows us how symbolic racism, things like, tattoos, jokes, nicknames, is never harmless. These are not innocent, little slips. They are messages. They are branding iron on the, soul of children. When you call mixed race kids monkeys, you are not echoing centuries of dehumanization. You are telling them they are less than human. And when you tattoo it permanently, you are saying it's not just a, momentary thought. It's your identity. Second, it shows us the critical role of the parent who stands in the middle. In this case, the biracial father. He is the bridge between the two worlds. He understands racism on a personal level, and he understands his wife's perspective. His role is not optional, it's essential. When he fails to defend his children, he doesn't just fail as a husband. He fails as a father. He fails as a protector. And he enables the very racism that will scar his children. And Tish's decision to divorce was not just about the tattoo. It was about realizing that her partner could not be trusted to put their children first. And that is the heart of this story. When your trust dies, relationships die. You can't build a marriage on a betrayal. You can't raise children in an environment where their dignity is negotiable. And for those who say she's being extreme, let's flip the question. What if she stayed? What if she allowed her children to grow up visiting a grandmother who sees them as animals? What if she allowed them to, see their father dismiss their mother's pain over and over again? What lesson would that teach you? That their worth is, conditional, that their dignity can be sacrificed for family peace, that silence is better than, confrontation? No. Breaking away was the only option, not just for her, sanity, but for her children's future. And here's the part that many people overlook. Racism inside families doesn't just, cause hurt feelings. It can fracture generations. Those kids will grow up without grandparents on one side. They will grow up with a story about why their parents divorced. And embedded in that story is the message that silence in the face of racism destroys families. That's powerful. That's a warning, and it's a reminder for all of us. If you are in a family where racism exists, whether subtle or overt, you have a choice. You can stay silent or you can confront it. And if you stay silent, you are, complicit. Silence is not neutral. Silence takes the side of the oppressor, even if that oppressor is your own mother, father, or uncle, or even grandmother. For biracial parents especially, the responsibility is heavier, because your children will look at you and wonder, do you see me? Do you value me? Will you defend me against, the people you love? And if the answer is no, the damage is permanent. So yes, the grandmother thought she was making a statement with her tattoo, and she did. But real statement, the one that will echo for years, is the broken family she leaves behind. The children who will, grow up knowing their grandmother saw them as apes. The children who will grow up without their father fully in their lives because he refused to defend them. And this is where I want to, leave you to leave you with a challenge. Ask yourself, if someone in your family did something racist, would you speak up? Would you defend your spouse, your children, or are you going to stay silent because it's easier? Because what this story shows us is that silence costs everything. Guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Also, remember to subscribe, like, and share as well. And until next time, bye-bye.